it's irregardless of what you think.
Oh, thank you for that.
Isn't irregardless like when you make water your plants?
It's irrigation.
No, that's what I get when you talk.
Here we go.
No, that's diarrhea.
Okay. Regardless. No, dang it. In case for our video YouTube watchers, look at what I'm holding. Yes, that's right.
What an ominous thing to say.
I don't know.
Turn it on, Dickie. Turn it on.
I don't know. Okay, really quickly, I have to mention this. Okay, we are talking Star Wars.
Which is why I'm holding a katana.
Which is why I am holding my incredible lightsaber that I was able to build at Disney World.
Do you want to hold
and it is,
the other sword just to be a part of this?
It's one of their crazy ones that I spent $200-some on.
And now the battery's dead.
But the battery is, because I play with it too
It was
much.
literally working like 30 minutes ago.
I play with this all the time, so it's not that... Shut up!
Just the thought of you... Sam's asleep and you're just walking.
I love Star Wars, which is why I made this beautiful $200 lightsaber. You can see right here. Look at this, it's beautiful. But unfortunately, I used it too much. So
how do you charge it?
I have to get a new battery.
What kind of battery does it take?
I have to do research. But regardless,
Glad they sent home instructions.
You got me saying irregardless now. I'm so through. Star Wars. It is maybe the comfort movie for me. If I'm ever just feeling down, if I ever just don't know what to watch.
What Star Wars?
What's that?
What Star Wars?
Any of them, honestly. Any
answer.
Star Wars, maybe except for episode 1 and 2. I would watch.
What's wrong with episode 1? I like it. That's my favorite prequel. That's his favorite prequel.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Like episode 1's are actually your favorite?
It's the best
prequel?
one.
Yeah, I have the most nostalgia for that one.
That's so interesting.
Plus, you don't want to watch episode 9.
Oh, you got me right. Actually, 1, 2, and 9. Those are probably.
What's wrong with 1?
It's boring.
2 is boring.
They're both.
How is 1 boring? It has pod racing, and it's the birth
And
of the
Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
And Maul.
the birth of the dual lightsaber.
Everything else in that movie is
Do you know how much more that movie echoes through the annals of the Star Wars franchise than anything else?
But that's such an interesting idea. Let's get into that. So the reason that I like the first Star Wars is because it set It started.
It set the bar wars.
Hey!
It really started everything. This is the movie that started 9 movies.
More than that.
Yeah.
No, that's right, more than that. 11? Right?
12,
Rogue One,
12,
Solo.
12. Clone Wars.
I keep forgetting about the Clone Wars
It's
movie.
canon and it's theatrical.
That's right,
Get
it's technically
stuffed.
12. So, if it was not for the 1977 Star Wars, we wouldn't have had the other 11 movies. We wouldn't have had countless series that I like, not all that many of, actually, because Obi-Wan wasn't that great and Book of Boba Fett was eh. But, we have Mandalorian, we have Clone Wars, we have Rebels, and like...
Bad Batch,
which I need to keep watching. It's so...
Visions, Resistance.
I've heard
Tales
good
of the
things.
Jedi.
Yep,
I've never
Tales of the
watched any
Jedi.
those, but I've heard good things about Visions.
They're dropping a season, not a season, a volume 2 on May the 4th.
Yeah, I love the fact that George Lucas thought, yeah, let's make a space opera. Yeah, let's go.
I don't think it's that simple. Actually, I think it is that simple, but not in the way you think.
That's fair.
You want to know what the real reason is?
What the what?
What the what?
What the real reason is?
What the wheel wheezing?
The wee reason?
So irregardless of what Jared thinks.
Where you gonna
I probably mentioned it already. It's the 70s, and George Lucas has just directed his first X1138, his directorial debut, and nobody saw it.
Nope.
Because it's an art movie, and it's very slow.
I want to watch it. I've never seen it.
You can borrow it if you want. Nah, I shouldn't, because you're just going to keep it in your player for 7 months.
I gave that back!
After like 7 months. The point being, it's very slow, it's got cool ideas and some cool visuals, that's it. He got mad. So he said, okay, I'm going to make something super pulpy and nostalgia and with like no substance, and he made American Graffiti, and everyone loved it, and everyone saw it, and it made a lot of money.
Made the world's biggest movie.
Yep, so he's like, okay, now I'm going to make the most nostalgia thing ever, the pulpiest thing imaginable, the thing that's just, this reeks of being successful, and that's what Star Wars is.
Yep. Which, I mean, because, he was a classic hero with the Thousand Faces, like your classic,
It's
like,
a hero's journey.
Hero's journey, that kind of
Space
stuff.
opera,
I mean,
Western, samurai-based thing.
Star Wars has been talked to death about that kind of stuff. Like, it's just...
Saturday morning serials, Flash Gordon.
Mm-hmm. Like, you know where it came from, and it feels like that. It feels fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just love this first... And I stand by, which I think, this is my number one of all time, is Empire Strikes Back. And so,
You think...
I'm pretty sure that's what my number one is. And so, I like that this lays the ground for that perfectly. I love... This is the first introduction of Darth Vader. Hands down, my favorite cinematic villain of all time. I mean, this is such an interesting, this is one of my favorite movies because it's on this list. It's just so tricky to, bring something new to the conversation because Star Wars has been talked to death.
I have a hot take.
What's that?
The Last Jedi is a good movie.
Jake, you're right. It is a good movie.
That's even not that much of a hot take.
Not anymore. Rian Johnson's... He's coming back. He really is.
They're going to let him
Where did he
direct
go?
that new trilogy.
He didn't go anywhere.
Well, the thing is, he got done a lot after this came out, but now people saw Knives Out, people saw Glass Onion, people saw Poker Face.
It's not like he went anywhere, though. He stayed around.
I have a hot take. Season 3 of The Mandalorian is actually really good.
That's an interesting take.
No,
This is not about The Mandalorian, but
it's about Star Wars.
I don't know if it's as good as the first two seasons. And granted, as the time we're recording this, the episode with Jack Black just came out, and another person that Jake hasn't seen this.
Lizzo.
You do know Lizzo isn't? Okay.
The Facebook page spoils everything.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
It's annoying. They give you 2 days.
It really, yeah. It's kind of ridiculous. But, I mean, think about it. That's kind of interesting, actually. Now I'm thinking, the very first Star Wars, when it comes to, plot-wise, there's not that much to spoil. And I think that's part of the reason why it blew up so much is because it was just an event that everyone talked about through and through because you could just talk about everything because there wasn't that much that you couldn't talk about per se. There wasn't that much that you could take away from the magic of going and see this in the theaters. I stand by the fact that I would have loved to see this for the first time in the movie theaters. When was the first time I watched this?
Shrek
2019.
In the car.
TV. Shrek TV.
Yeah, I think it was I don't remember, I would have been 8 to 10 years old-ish. And I was just in the car with my cousins, and we're driving somewhere. And I don't know how this got brought up, but it was have you ever seen Star Wars? I'm like, actually, no. I've heard of it. I've heard it's good, but I've never seen it before.
Can you imagine 8 or 9-year-old Dickie going,
Yes.
actually, no.
Yeah, it's just the same thing. So that was your spring awakening?
It was so interesting. The first time I saw this was in a car, and I'm not even going to say anything to that. I'm not going to say
No,
anything
he had to wait for Return of the Jedi for that.
But I just said that was my first story. And I'm curious, when was the first time you guys saw this?
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
I saw Empire before I saw New Hope.
Did you really?
Yeah, my parents had them recorded onto it was aired on TV or something. We had it on a blank VHS tape. And
Nice.
Was it TNT that showed it all the time?
TNT has.
Do you think that I had cable TV in
Well, how'd you watch it then?
1993
How'd you watch it then?
on a VHS tape?
Well, how'd they get it?
So okay. So I know this is gonna be wild to you guys. On Saturday and Sunday nights, network television used to air movies.
What's network television?
Wait, really?
Yes.
I actually didn't know that.
It was actually called the CBS Saturday Night Presentation. And then usually on Sunday it was a Disney movie.
And that's how they show. Although, and Disney didn't own Star Wars then, but that's probably how.
Yes. I think at that point, Disney owned ABC, maybe?
Yeah, I don't remember when Disney bought it.
They showed Candle Shoe and Fuzz Bucket.
Wow, you're really into
Those
talking
are
Star Wars right
really
now, aren't
deep
you?
cuts.
Anyway, I watched it on that VHS tape, and then I just think it was...
So if you saw it in '93, did you watch the original version? That's not.
Dickey, the special edition, wasn't that like 97?
Yeah, it would have been late '90s.
Yeah, so what
So-
I think
so
what
he
I
had to have
think
seen it.
what I think happened is I watched Empire for literally 4 years before I got into 4th grade. Yeah, that would track. So I watched Empire for 4 years before I got into like 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And 4th or 5th grade we watched all 3 of them in school.
Nice.
And then it was 1997, and my parents bought me the gold box.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's cool.
That was the first time they retouched them, right?
That sounds right.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
When they added the stupid
CG stuff
The
and
stupid
Greedo shooting first.
the stupid
Han shot first.
McClunky.
the stupid. I was talking about the stupid Jabba scene
Yeah.
That
where,
looks
where they
so
had
weird.
to where they had to make him step on his tail because he
Yeah.
walks around the hairy dude.
It's so weird. Like I understand.
I understand wanting to retouch some of the visual effects, and but then you start talking about adding scenes that make no sense, and spoiler alert for Return of the Jedi.
What? You're gonna spoil almost a 40-year-old movie?
Almost a 40. It's
Actually, it is 40.
Dickey. Star Wars itself is 46 years old.
Yeah.
Dickey
Well,
math.
Well, actually, I mean, this is gonna be a long time before this actually airs. They re-released Return of the Jedi in the theaters, which I am absolutely going to see because I've never seen any of the Star Wars movies in the theater.
I thought you watched Return of the Jedi with me for the May the 4th re-release in 2018. I think you were there.
Irregardless,
Right after a shift. Yeah, it was because Return of the Jedi came back for the 35th anniversary.
I was a
Yeah, I think you did.
oh.
Wait,
You
and that was-
liar!
and that was
You
twen-
have seen
and that
one-
was 2018. So even Return of the Jedi is 40 years old at this point.
well
this year.
This year.
This year,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that those movies came out within 6 years of each other.
It was every 3 years, 77, 80, and 83. And I have that memorized.
About the only numbers he's ever memorized.
No, the only number that I have is 69.
What are the prequels years?
99, 2002, 2005.
Yep, and what are the sequels?
2015, 2018.
Nope.
2015.
Yep.
29.
Nope.
7.
Yep.
2 years. Interesting. Let's know it was 2 years apart.
And then,
And then that would have been 2019 or 2020.
yeah, and in between each one of those, they had another movie.
Yeah. That's a whole, like,
Yeah, what year was Solo released?
that's right. Solo would have been.
It's okay to forget about that movie. We all do.
I usually forget. 2016.
No.
That was Rogue One.
Yep.
So this would have been 2018.
Yeah, literally, Last Jedi came out in December of 17, which that's weird because most of the time Star Wars comes out in the spring or summer.
In the summer, yeah.
But then Solo is literally like 5 months later.
Yeah. That's the other thing
And
about
everyone hated it, and rightfully so.
It's not great. But that's the other thing about Star Wars. It's the perfect summer movie. You're going on an adventure through space. You're swinging lightsabers. You're shooting. ships.
We say that, but there's not that much lightsaber swinging in the first movie.
No, I know there's actually.
It's funny how this caught like wildfire, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, there's all this intricate like sword play and blaster mechanics." Like, there's not a whole lot of that going on in that movie.
A lot of talking.
There is a lot of talk.
And which is okay, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not a criticism of the movie. It's just, it's weird how culture latched onto that when it's not really there. It is also funny when Obi-Wan Kenobi talks about how precise blaster shots are from stormtroopers. I've never noticed that before, to be honest.
It's weird that Alec Guinness got nominated for this performance.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's such a weird... It's gotta be, because it's not like the performance is bad.
No.
He has a presence, and he's good.
Yeah.
It's not what you'd think of an Oscar performance, especially in this time when it's the new Hollywood movie.
Does it have something to do with the impact that it had on culture?
I think it's just that. It's just the popularity of the movie, and it's kind of this, like, people remembering who Alec Guinness was, because he's a character actor before that, not like a giant name. Then this kind of,
this
like a second act of his career.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of movies with him in it lately.
I'll be really honest. I love Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan. I don't know. I can't think of a single other thing that he's been in.
Well, Jake this year watched Lawrence Arabia.
Lawrence Arabia. Is he in Dr. Zhivago too?
Yeah, he's the brother or cousin that's telling the story.
Yeah, that's
in the framing device. And then Bridge on the River Kwai's what he won his Oscar for. Yep. He's really good in that. I watched a movie last year called Kind Hearts and Coronets where he plays like 8 different characters.
Whoa.
Because they're all part of one family that the main character is killing. So he can like inherit their wealth or something. He plays like some of the, like, I think he plays like the matriarch and then a bunch of like her daughters and sons, like all kinds of different get-ups, because he was known for being similar like Peter Sellers, just donning different disguises.
Right.
In some movies, performances that wouldn't fly today.
You mean the Lawrence of Arabia?
Yeah. And it's not like it's
not
incredibly offensive. It's just one of those like, it's offensive for happening, but it's not like he's going out of his way.
I mean, they would have had to put a lot of makeup on him for that one.
Yeah.
That one specifically.
Yeah, oh, sorry, were you going to say anything?
No.
It's so interesting. Could you imagine being Alec Guinness, being casted as Obi-Wan in this kind of movie? Like,
he didn't think that highly of it.
No,
he never did.
I would think he wouldn't even almost want to do something like this. This seems like so.
I think he needed a paycheck. And then I thought like the Empire Dreams thing, that documentary about the making. I thought he had said something about like he didn't think it was going to take off. He thought it was just this dumb B movie, and he thought the writing was really silly. And then when it took off, it's like, of course he's going to show up in the next 2 in cameos because they're going to pay him.
Oh, absolutely, I would. And it was so interesting that they didn't think it was, because they had. I don't remember where I learned this or what the movie was paired with. But they had to convince theaters to take in Star Wars. So they said, you have to play Star Wars if you will play, like, whatever actual big movie was coming out at that time, which I, for the love of me, cannot remember. So I will give you this if you also play Star Wars on another screen. And then all of a sudden, fucking just, like, goes nuts. So I just think that's really interesting. That's how they got into theaters.
Jake, this makes me want to bring up the point I always make about Star Wars these days.
Star Wars is stupid,
and
I love it.
It's always
he doesn't engage in the first half of that statement.
But no, it's true.
Say it with us.
It's stupid.
Star Wars is stupid. And no, start over. No. Star Wars is stupid, and I love it. Because it is 100% committed to the bit. It knows what it is. It plays into it, and that's why people like it. It doesn't wink at us all the time. Most of the movies don't wink at us all the time.
Most of the good ones, yeah.
Some of the movies don't wink at us all the time. The
three
first
of the
three
movies don't wink at us all the time.
They take themselves seriously.
But not too seriously.
Right. Like, and that's the thing. I've always... One of the YouTubers... I can't take credit for this because John Campion, who I like to follow, he pointed out that Star Wars has always been made for kids, but you can still enjoy it as adults, and that's what it is. Think about it. You literally have a light side and a dark side. How much more easy can it get? Like that's
Thanksgiving, turkey.
Yeah, honestly.
Are you saying Thanksgiving turkey is?
There's light meat and the dark meat.
Oh, I thought you were saying Thanksgiving turkey is easier to cook than understanding.
Better.
Really? The dark
I'll eat both. But I like
That's
the
so
light meat.
greasy.
The dark meat is so much better.
What do you like? The white?
White meat.
Really? You guys are both light meters?
That sounds like a slur. That sounded awful.
That's what I really weird coming out of my mouth.
Shame on you.
Maybe that's why the lightsaber that I built is a Sith
You
one.
built that?
I did.
No wonder it doesn't work.
It's because the battery burnt out, okay?
Is that what they said about you back in high school?
No, my battery is burnt out today. Back in high school, I barely had a battery. I'm just running out.
What is happening?
Star Wars. Man, when you watch it, it's like I can totally see why this was popular and why it's still popular. It really is just a goofy 70s sci-fi movie, especially this first one. It expands more in the next two, but this does feel a lot closer to some of those earlier 70s sci-fi movies.
I will say, it doesn't, watching it, okay, I want to be careful how I say this because of how Star Wars has impacted filmmaking over the past 46 years. It does not feel like a B movie, like in the way that it's shot and put together. Mm-hmm. It feels more quality than that, but that might be because I'm looking at it retrospectively, knowing that a lot of stuff that is implemented here is implemented elsewhere because Star Wars did it and was popular with it and blah blah blah. It also has some of the best miniature work I've ever seen, if not the best miniature work I've ever seen.
Yeah, and that's kind of go piggybacking off of that, like the effects work in this. I mean, this has been said a million, trillion, quadrillion times. The effects work in this like push the industry forward so far because they absolutely killed it. They took themselves very seriously and they really went out to build the perfect universe they possibly could. And I love how the ships look. I love the sound. The sound design is some of the most iconic sound design ever.
Well, and everything can be a toy. Everything can be a toy.
I mean, and that's so I don't like that. But like I like how they like, and obviously the TIE fighters scream. Like, come on, you just.
How do you even come up with that?
I know there's a documentary, like a behind bonus features kind of thing.
The Sound of Star Wars or something.
Yeah, that shows where they came up with that. I love
the blaster shot, or it's the wire.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a really long slinky, and you smack the middle of it with like a drumstick or something like that. And it makes that noise. That's such a cool like. How do you think of like?
Is this drumstick light meat or dark meat?
Dark, absolutely dark. But like, how do you think of that? How
Regardless.
Are you so creative?
It is one of my favorite shots. They use it 2 or 3 times because it's so cool. Is when they enter the trench on the Death Star, and then they go down, they swoop down. I always love that.
That's great. You want to know what shot's my favorite actually, and one you probably don't think of? It's in the very beginning when C-3PO and R2 are going down the planet, and you just see the planet, and they're like spinning, and then you see the planet through the window, and like you can see them like moving towards the planet. You guys remember that shot?
You mean when the pod ejects?
Yes, when the pod ejects. I don't know why that just like seeing where they're going and like that framing device, it just gets me excited, and it knows that there's a really big adventure coming, and I can't wait to like start. That's the other thing. I love that they started this movie with sassy droids. Like that, like it's just such a thing you don't think you're gonna see.
Actually, they started this movie with exposition dump.
Well, that's valid. You have your whole line.
To be honest, when I was a kid, I didn't read it at all.
Oh, no.
I was like, get to the movie.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
to the movie.
I always read it, and none of it made sense. I think when I got a little older, I'd ask my parents, what does that word mean or that word? Because he is using some fancier words for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, rebel and attack.
I remember, well, I think it was specifically like the prequels, like he'll use, like, I think I'd ask my parents, what's a treaty? Like, I didn't know what a treaty was, or there was something else in there, like some political jargon. They're like, oh, that's what this is. They're like, oh, what does that mean? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. That sounds like the prequels, honestly. But yeah, it is such an interesting choice to use the text and not to just...
It just is a way to get around having to show all of it.
I know, and I mean, it saves time, obviously.
Also, no one would have been engaged with reading that if John Williams' score wasn't so.
Yeah.
That is very true.
If it did not start that way.
That music is really loud in the mix because I had to turn my sound bar down because I was watching on the Blu-ray, the 2013 Blu-ray pack, Star Wars Blu-ray. Yeah, and it's super. So I turned it down, and then when the movie starts, it's so quiet. It's like I had to turn it back up.
Jared, I did the same. It wasn't this watch, but I specifically remember I was in college, and I don't know why, we're just like, screw it, let's just throw on Star Wars right now. Why not? Let's just watch it. And we did not pay attention to the volume whatsoever, so we popped the disc in, we hit play.
Wait, you went to college when there were discs?
Yes!
Oh, man.
But usually the THX thing shows up,
I mean,
and it turns into the scene from Over the Hedge. Don't you remember?
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember that playing in front of it, though, for some reason.
You know what I remember playing in front of the gold case? All of the behind-the-scenes crap and watching them blow up the miniatures. Man, that's cool.
You know, as
Or
much
the-
as I love... Sorry, you want to go? You go first. Cause
I was just gonna say, or the next iteration after the gold case were like the black cases, right? Where each one had the touchdown, or like two of the cases were black and one was white, or you know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
It was like the next release one, and they had this like montage playing before the movies to like, so it'd show scenes from all three. Let me see if I can hear you. Make your point. I'm gonna look up the thing for him to see.
But yeah, speaking of bonus features, I adore the bonus features that are on these discs. But you know who actually has the best out of bonus features? The prequels. It's because they actually touch on some of the original stuff too. But there's so... That's another thing. Man, go buy movies. Go buy Star Wars. Because
Nobody collects anymore.
Because the bonus features are hands down...
Nobody collects anymore.
Nobody does collect anymore. It is...
And why are you telling us to go...
Well,
never
because
mind,
I want
continue.
people to watch the bonus features. They're so good.
But
And
that's
what-
part of physical media.
I know. That's what got me into movie making. To start with, it's seeing how they made Star Wars, seeing
The middle
everything
ones?
behind it. Please,
The middle
please,
one's on the
please.
bottom.
I'm sure if you're listening to a movie podcast, you probably own
So-
some already.
That's 97, that's 99, and then what are the white ones?
I don't know. There's a lot of different versions.
Oh,
Then I have
they
those
re-release
ones.
it like every 2 years, I swear, just to try to get more and more money.
I mean, I'm surprised they don't have like a 9-movie set out now.
They do.
Like a 9
The
movie
Skywalker
box set.
saga.
They do.
Do they really?
Because I wanted it, but I probably wouldn't watch.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that bad. It's honestly not that bad. It just has a couple of really bad decisions in it.
Maybe on a rewatch, because I have not watched it outside of theaters, I think.
Same.
So maybe on a rewatch, I might like it.
It's
a
not
little
that bad.
more.
There's just a couple of really dumb decisions.
Mm-hmm. We all, I think Star Wars is stupid, but I love it. Like, it's always silly. It's always, like, not super serious, but...
And now they're using all of the shows outside of the movies to validate their choices, their stupid choices in Rise of Skywalker.
Listen, I know we're supposed to be talking about the very first Star Wars, but I have a massive bone to pick right now with Lucasfilm.
That's not what I thought he was going to say. I love stars, and I have a massive bone to pick.
When I think about the original trilogy, I do have that. But when I think about the fact that over this most recent Star Wars Celebration, and this is coming out obviously months after Star Wars Celebration came out, that's when we're filming this, they announced, which they could walk back in a month or two, they announced there's going to be a freaking Daisy Ridley movie.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
They're
She's awesome.
So divisive. Why would they?
Because she's awesome.
She's good, but I just don't.
She's a ray of light.
I need...
They should go forward. They should stop touching on it. Yeah, that was kind of funny. They should stop it.
I need more Daisy Ridley in my life. This is the way I need to do it.
Just watch Chaos Walking. Did either of you see it?
No.
I did.
My wife wanted to see it, I think.
It's awful.
Oh boy.
It's,
Yeah, but that's.
I couldn't even say the word.
Just think about it this way, Dickie. If we get another trilogy with Daisy Ridley, we can have
Ray
more
of Light,
short.
Like a Virgin, and Papa Don't Preach.
Oh.
We'll get more shorts with Josh Gad asking her what happens in Star Wars.
Oh.
That was funny. Don't even pretend like those weren't
It
funny.
was a little silly. It was, I don't. I personally like I said. I go back and forth. I love the old stuff, but some of the new stuff obviously is like.
He's a gatekeeper, isn't he?
I try not.
Specifically
no,
with Star
not.
Wars.
I am not.
Specifically-
I am the exact opposite of a gatekeeper, sir.
So you broke in. Hey,
They can't find the gate if they don't know where it is.
it's not gatekeeping if they don't know where the gate is.
I want every single person to watch every single movie and get their own opinion on it. If it's different than mine, then so be it. Okay? I'm not a gatekeeper.
Usually people who have different opinions than him have taste.
I have taste. I like the first trilogy.
That's not taste. That's like the most shared opinion ever. Ever. What'd we say? If people haven't seen any Star Wars anything, it's impressive.
It really is at this point.
It's everywhere.
The other thing that I will say is I am very excited. I'm jumping all over the place for this one. But I am very excited to have kids of my own to show them Star Wars when they're young.
Watch them hate it.
I don't know what I would do. I would be like, "This is Daddy's favorite movie. Are you ready?" And I want to see like they're like just because like as a kid that is the best way to watch this movie for the first time. It is because like
With your dad sitting there going, "What'd you think? What about that? That's pretty cool. Guess how they did that? Oh, guess how they did that? You know, that was added.
Guess who's his father?
Hunch out first.
Guess who's
Hunch
his
out
father?
first.
Guess
You better believe Hunch out first. Hunch out first.
Guess,
McClunky.
He just kissed her sister.
That's not okay. No, wait, no, it's not okay.
just saying, as a kid, this would be the best experience.
So, okay, I must have had a really weird childhood. I never had... My father never sat me down and
Is it like
showed
the
me...
talk? We're gonna watch Star Wars.
Listen, come here, sit on my lap. We're gonna
No.
talk about
It was...
Star Wars.
He never...
The
he
birds
never,
and the bee movies.
He never sat me down and like, this is my favorite movie, Jake. I think that's going to be like a very specifically millennial thing.
I think it is because my dad also he never said this was my favorite movie. We just started watching like old 80s movies like Ghostbusters, like Raiders, like those kind of stuff. Like that's so westerns. My dad loves westerns, and so like
Your dad has better taste than you.
you're very funny.
Yeah.
That being said, my dad doesn't really watch a lot of movies more
Mine
than
doesn't
once.
either. I think my dad goes to the theater once every 2 years. He hardly ever goes to the theater.
What's
At
the
home
last-
even, he'll just, if something's on TV, he'll flip to it, and he'll be like reading. He'll fall asleep. He'll go do something else and then come back in, just if he's seen it already. Like, I remember, like, he'll randomly get into these, like he'll see something and then just start talking about, like, he's like, you ever see that movie Battleship? And I go, no. I really like it. I know a lot of people don't. I do. Okay. And then I'm watching him, I watched a part with him. He's like, okay, yeah, this part's dumb.
Yeah,
That's
Battleship is so.
But he likes Battleship.
Hey, it's a movie.
Yes, it is.
I mean, my dad likes Top Gun. I don't hold that against him.
It's a dad. Actually,
No,
God.
my dad does not like Top Gun.
Are Star Wars dad movies?
A little bit.
I'll say the originals are.
Yeah.
I'm
I think-
like, oh no.
I
Star Wars
think-
are dad movies.
I think they're movies that every generation grows up with, and it means something different to every generation. If you notice, people growing up, maybe not people growing up right now, but people growing up 10 years ago tend to really love the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that I think is because of Clone Wars. But
And episode 3. A lot of people like episode 3.
Don't know why.
It's the shiniest of all the turds.
no, it's
No, it's
no, it's
That's,
not.
that's what I consider it.
Episode 1 is.
It's not interesting. I think episode 1 is your favorite.
What do you mean you think? Well, he knows it's his favorite.
It's not my favorite. Last Jedi is my favorite.
Of the prequels.
Of the prequels. Yes. Of the prequels, it's 1. Of the originals, it's Empire.
Well, you're not a Return of the Jedi fan. I thought you were.
I am a Return of the... See, I'm gonna rate the originals right now.
Let's go.
What 5, 6, 4?
I'm trying to think in my head. It's 5.
6, 6, 6.
Stop.
Oh, you devil.
I'm trying to think. I might actually go 5, 4, 6. No.
That's what most people do.
Yeah.
It's just the most basic opinion. Everyone's opinion. I thought Empire's the best, and Return of the Jedi is the worst of the 3. Yeah, 5, 4, 6 is like Dickey. That is everyone's opinion. It feels like.
I really don't think Jedi is the worst of it.
Everyone's opinion. I'm trying to have my own. I can't help the fact that everybody else has the same one. It's so hard.
It's really funny because I knew it. I knew you were gonna do that. It's like, of course he's gonna go 5 because it makes sense. You like 5 and 4 better than 6, and 5's your favorite movie all the time. Of course you're gonna go 5, 4, 6.
Yeah.
But that's just that is the consensus.
I know. It's so hard because I try to stand out, but like we have the same things.
See, you don't need to stand out with your opinions because you already stand out as a person.
Aw, thanks, Jared.
That's not a good thing.
I was waiting for it.
See, you're the equivalent of a car alarm. After a while, you get annoying, but when you hear it, you know exactly what it is.
In a world full of battle droids, be a Jar Jar, and you are the world's Jar Jar.
Don't call me Jar Jar.
What's wrong with Jar Jar?
Screw you.
Yeah, what's wrong with Jar Jar?
He was my favorite character as a kid. I loved him. I dressed up for him as Halloween twice.
Did you really? Can I please see pictures of that?
I have it. So it was like the costume was like cheap, like it's, I'm not gonna say silk, but it's like that silk wannabe,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
It's like real, but it's stretchy. It's like real stretchy. It's real thin, and you wear it over your clothes. And then I had this like Halloween store mask, like $2 mask, and his eyes are here, but his nose has holes where you look through. And I dressed up as.
Do you
as
still
Jar Jar.
have it?
You know, maybe somewhere.
Oh my God.
I need you to wear that on podcast one of
I'm not
these
gonna
days.
fit into that.
I
was in kindergarten.
I just mean the mask.
Again, I don't think you would fit
I don't
into that.
think the eyes gonna be like right here. I was gonna say I was in kindergarten. Jake, I was in kindergarten in 2000. That's how long ago I was in kindergarten.
I hate you.
Yeah, that would have been 2000, like right after the movie came out.
Yeah. That's the one thing. I have a little bit of beef with my parents. Because as a child, I would have loved to see the prequels in the theater, but they never took me.
I saw them all in theaters.
Nice. That's cool.
I saw the second and third one. I was too
I
young
fell
for
asleep
Phantom
during the
Menace.
second one.
I remember sitting there kind of bored, and I'm loving it because it's Star Wars and I'm a kid. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just kind of waiting, and then the last 20 minutes, yeah, Yoda, ooh. And then the third one, they're like, yeah, we're going to see this. I go, yeah. And I remember the promotional little flyer posters.
Oh, yeah.
It was Darth Vader, and it said, who's your daddy? Because it was, a couple weeks before Father's Day.
Yes.
That's funny.
They almost didn't take me to Revenge of the Sith because that's the first PG-13 Star Wars movie.
That's right. Yeah.
Because all the others were PG, and that one was PG-13 because the guy gets roasted alive.
Yeah, that's a little dark.
And I remember my parents, being my parents at the time, it's like, do we really want to expose him to this? It's like, it's really not that bad.
It's
Because what they would do is they'd put it in my mind that, oh no, it's really, really bad and disturbing. And I'm sitting there watching it, and it happens, I go, oh, okay.
Oh, it's not that.
I was 11,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, one of the other funny things that Star Wars fans do, they make connections between the movies that I don't think are necessarily there. Like, I was listening to this whole video the other day that was like, do you know why it didn't surprise Obi-Wan when Anakin jumped over him and he sliced him in half? And do you know why Anakin did that? It's because
Well, that's the thing thing is
Anakin always wanted to defeat Obi-Wan the way Obi-Wan defeated Maul. And, like, I get that that's in the... It might be alluded to in the comics, but, like, come on.
Well, that's the thing is, I love the fact that, like, you can dive into theories like that. You can spend 20 hours on YouTube just, like, deep diving into
You can spend more than 20 hours.
I know. But, like, so many fan theories. Or you can just sit down, watch it, and just enjoy the ride. And I honestly bounce them back and forth.
That's right. You can enjoy the ride of Phantom Menace.
Well, I'm just talking about the first three. Even, like, because you can dive into theories.
They are the first three.
You know.
Yeah, I'm not sure I do, Dicky.
The originals.
Oh.
But I just think that's another thing special. I mean, there's so many things Star Wars does that other movies can't. And I think having that option to, like, just deep dive into theories or just watch it as it is, that's a cool thing that you can't do with other things.
It was weird for me, and we watched the movies, obviously, the week that we talk about them, because we've gone through the whole thing of trying to talk about them having not watched them. It doesn't go well. Yeah. So I watched it today.
Ooh, no pressure on me. I watched it over the weekend.
And I don't like it as much as I used to.
Really?
I don't feel like a kid like I did anymore. It's still good. I will recognize that it's good, but it's like it ends up reminding me of other things in the Star Wars franchise that I like better, and I stopped thinking about the movie itself.
That is true. It's hard to separate.
Because
it's such a universe now.
Yeah, I'm watching, say, the Millennium Falcon take off on Mos Eisley, and I'm like, I remember flying the Millennium Falcon in Rebel Assault. I remember reading about that in this book. There's this game, and then there's this toy, and then there's this thing. And by the time
it's a cool thing that you can do that, but sometimes you don't want to. Right? Like.
No, I want to.
No, you want to.
The other thing is, and this might blow your mind. It blew my mind. This movie is incredibly short, a lot shorter than I ever thought it was. By the time they leave the Death Star, there is only 30 minutes left in the movie.
Yeah, I know. I noticed. I'm glad you actually said that because I was thinking about this, but I didn't like forward to a point. What is this like? This
it's two. It's almost 2 hours exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this really, I liked it. It was shorter. This is one of the shorter.
Has to be.
I think so. I don't remember how much the right.
I don't know. Clone Wars is pretty short.
That's gotta be the short.
Or sorry, Attack of the Clones is pretty short.
No, it's not.
No. I think the prequel.
It's 142 minutes.
Is that really 100?
And then the third one's like 140. And Phantom Menace got like 136 or something like that.
Like 20 minutes of Attack of the Clones is talking in the Senate about stuff that we don't care about because it's not lasers.
Listen, I like my lasers. I want to see swinging lasers.
We know you like lasers, Dickie. We know.
Lasers are cool.
We know. Also, and as I think at least Jared and I have determined, Star Wars works better as a TV show.
Because it's based off of TV serials. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, and I'm gonna look right into the camera when I say this.
Oh, all right.
Star Trek crawled so Star Wars could fly.
Hey, I like that.
Star Trek is the original, and possibly better.
It's hard to compare because most of the Star Trek movies, from what I've seen and what I've heard, are not great. But the shows are good.
So most of the
all of it.
All of it.
You have to, because Star Wars now has a ton of shows
and comics and all of it.
No, it does.
But most of the Star Wars movies aren't great.
See, I think Trek leans more into
being good.
Yeah.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm
just
no, it's okay to know.
And Star Wars is more fantasy, if that makes sense.
Star Wars is more action.
And a little more action.
I would not say it's more fantasy than Star Trek.
I guess the more action.
It's more action.
All I know is that Deep Space Nine has more story to it than the entirety of the Star Wars universe.
But they're just two entirely different vehicles.
It's just so funny. Star Trek fans, that's like their favorite show.
I forgot
And that's so many of them love Deep Space Nine. And it's funny to talk to my parents who have watched Star Trek for decades. Not like religiously, but they like a lot of the shows. They do not like Deep Space Nine. It bores
why.
them.
I've never
Because my mom loves TNG and my dad loves Voyager.
I love Voyager.
But they don't really like Deep Space Nine. They really don't care for Enterprise. A lot of people don't like Enterprise. And they don't really watch the originals. Just they stick to those two. It's just funny.
You know what you bring in Star Trek up reminded me? Remember for a second in society when there was a big Star Trek versus Star Wars thing? Like I feel like that existed. Then
Like 20 years ago?
Yeah. Like that was a thing that just kind of like fizzled out. I don't know. I just remember that. I want to say it.
Oh, yeah, because one of them was the biggest franchise on Earth, and then Star Trek just kind of stayed consistent.
Yeah. Well, consistent is a strong word, but
No, it is.
Stayed consistent.
I mean, there's been dips in.
Not real. They tend to always be around without being giant. They're big,
Yeah.
but
Like
they're
right
not
now,
giant.
there's like
They don't
right
go
now
up
there's
and
like
down. They're just
3
kinda-
Star Trek shows on Paramount Plus right now.
Star Trek. Yeah, no, recently Picard is big.
But like
Picard,
that's been since like the
Bojack.
movie, the third. I'm just not a J.J. Abrams movie.
The
but
third reboot movie.
Yeah, and they're trying to get a 4th one off the ground, but I heard that Chris Pine is not being is amicable the right word?
Irrevocable.
Amenable. Amenable to it.
Amenable. That's the powerhouse of the cell.
I swear.
Yeah, it's just funny to looking at them because like Star Trek is a big TV deal, and they've had a lot of movies. There are 5 originals or 6? No, 6. There's 6 originals.
Yeah.
And the TNG has 4
I think so.
or 5, and then the 3 reboots. So they've had a decent amount of movies.
It's more.
I just think it's funny that my favorite Star Trek movie is the one everyone hates.
Generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone hates it. I think it's okay.
I haven't actually. That's one of the ones that I have not seen.
First Contact is a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah.
They also like Wrath of
I mean,
Khan.
Wrath of Khan is obviously.
And the first reboot. And I know you like the second one. I've not seen the second one.
The first reboot is a lot of fun.
The second one, people are a little more divisive.
The first reboot actually gives me the same energy thinking about it as The Force Awakens. I feel like they have very similar vibes.
The difference is, not to keep going down this rabbit hole, Force Awakens is basically remaking a similar story for a new generation. That first Star Trek reboot changes the timeline completely.
Yeah.
It completely reboots it.
put more effort into that than
Yes, they did.
Force Awakens.
And it
But The
didn't-
Force Awakens was what it needed
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
Because there's a huge gap for that, where
There
Star
was
Trek shows
a
have
lot
always been
more
around.
for The Force Awakens to pick up and shoulder than there was for
Yep.
a Star Trek reboot to do so. However, this is not about Star Trek, but I'm going to defend Into Darkness. Everybody hates it because it's just a Wrath of Khan. He never said that it wasn't. What's wrong with that?
They did, actually. I remember the marketing, and they said, "Oh, it's not Khan. You gotta keep." Or no, they never said it's not Khan, but they always like played it like coy. Like they never really said if it was or wasn't. And I think if they maybe would have marketed it as, yes, this is what it is, but just accept it and move on, it would have maybe been received a little bit better.
I don't know. They didn't receive Last Jedi that well when he said that.
Yeah, that's true.
Star Trek is stupid, and I like parts of it.
Yeah.
I just don't have the connection people do. But we're supposed to be talking about Star Wars.
Star Wars. Anything else? This has been
We mentioned the time. Really well paced. We mentioned that. It flies by.
It is really.
Luke is
into the
kind
garbage
of
chute,
annoying
fly boys.
a bit.
He's whiny.
He's whiny.
Luke is so whiny.
Also, okay. So I had this weird moment, and I don't know if it's a what's it called, a Mandela effect.
Yeah.
When they're about to swing across the hallway,
Yeah.
and Leia gives him the kiss, I could swear
The bridge.
that the bridge.
Yeah, it's a bridge. The bridge
Whatever
is
it
out.
was.
Yeah.
I could swear that she like kissed him on the lips, and then when I was watching it today,
It's just the cheek.
I saw her kiss him on the cheek, and I was like, that looks weird. Did they edit it to make it not seem so much like brother and sister kissy?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it was just because they show their actual kiss later is when they actually kiss. Anything else?
Apparently they edited some of that out too as well for Empire.
Just leave
Is
it.
what I read.
I understand wanting to fix your stuff, but just leave it.
I don't think that. I think there was a second, more in-depth kiss that they took out as a deleted scene.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah. There was also if you on Star Wars Blu-ray, there's a deleted scene from this movie where it makes Biggs's storyline at the end way more meaningful, and they took it out for pacing and time because it takes a while to get off Tatooine as it should. But there's a scene where Luke goes to like hang out with his friends, and I think it's supposed to take place after they buy the droids, but before R2 leaves. And it's like Biggs is there, and that's our introduction. His friends are there. They call Luke like Wormy or something. They call him some nickname, and it's like they're all leaving, and it makes sense because we don't need to see the whole thing we hear later. All his friends are gone. But it kind of sets up the Biggs thing, because when he runs into Biggs at the end, if you don't know, you're like, who is this?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's never brought
I always thought that
No.
Wedge Antilles was his friend, and that was his name.
I guess just another pilot.
Yeah, who becomes, a mainstay in the other two movies, but Biggs is the one that he reunites with and hugs before they leave when they first get to Yavin, and then Biggs ends up dying.
Yep.
Which again, it doesn't feel. It feels like it's like, oh man, but when you know the context and see the scene, it's like, okay, that's a little bit better. It's nothing like super deep, but it's like setting him up then to have him die later means more.
And there's so many quotes in this movie that will just live on forever.
God, yeah.
Like, look, sir, droids.
These are not the droids you were looking for.
You're like the dewback added in. I
Like
had a
how they
toy dewback.
Really?
You'd move the tail side to side, and its mouth would open and chomp.
I have that one.
You still have it?
I have every Star Wars figurine I ever owned.
I have an old. I don't know if I still have it anymore, but I had an old. It was like the Millennium Falcon, but like as a gun, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, I had the X-wing and the TIE fighter of that.
And then because you would hold, you
pulled
shoot little discs
Yep,
out.
you pulled the trigger and it made little flying noise, or like there's buttons on the back or something. You push the buttons and it makes the noises, and you shoots the disc. Yep.
Yeah, those are.
What?
They made Star Wars toys so well. They really did.
I have a couple of the action figures still in the packaging, I think.
Nice.
Worth about $10 now.
Yeah.
Because now everyone has everything. The only valuable ones are going to be like the original set from the 70s.
Yeah. Which would be really cool to own, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to bring this up before because I was thinking like, this is technically now Episode 4: A New Hope. And I looked at when did they change that? Apparently, its third re-release in 1981 is when he changed it to that. So imagine being
really?
Imagine being
that long ago.
Imagine being a kid and you're a fan and you're excited and then you hear, oh, he changed the title to Episode 4.
4?
Now imagine that, and then that's after Empire. Return of the Jedi comes out. It's like, okay, that's 4, 5, 6. I can't wait for 1, 2, and 3, and then you have to wait.
Guess what, buddy?
You have to wait 16 years.
Can you imagine a world before Star Wars was a universe?
No.
Can you, what would that world be like?
World War II. Am I wrong?
Not exactly, but you're about
The world would have been
30 years too early.
I'm just saying it's World War II, and then the fallout of World War II, and then the 60s. And then Star Wars.
Star Wars. All right, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to add, per se. I don't know.
Star Wars. There's nothing else to add.
I could genuinely just chat about this for another 5 hours.
I mean, to be honest, we've not added anything new in this entire hour we've been talking.
Yeah.
It just kind of rehash.
It's just fun. It's fun to talk about Star Wars. I love it. I do.
Gonna pick me up one of them UCS X-Wings.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing else we want to talk about right now, where can they find us on social media?
You can
Definitely not on the Death Star.
follow us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the funny TikTok. And listen to us on Apple, Google, Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and hey, if it's YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, ring our bell, like us and rate us or whatever, and all those other things, and follow us or check out our groovy website. What's it called?
SlateMedia.com.
Slate.com.
So thank you for listening to today's open discussion about Episode 4 and kind of everything else about Star Wars.
Everything that, irregardless.
Irregardless of
And
everything
we will
else
be
about Star
returning
Wars.
back to the Star Wars world once we get to my number one movie, which is Empire Strikes Back. But as of next week...
Wow, way to spoil it, man.
Oh, yeah, spoilers.
That's all he does.
But as of next week, that is going to be my third favorite movie of all time.
This is going to be your... Are we...
Howl's Moving Castle.
Howl's Moving Castle, thank you. I knew it was a Ghibli movie. Yeah, Howl's Moving Castle. So go watch it and then come back and we're going to talk about Howl's Moving Castle. So from all of us here, thank you for listening to today's awesome discussion. Again, stay tuned for more awesome stuff coming out in the following weeks. So thank you for listening. We will see you next time.